Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's video. Well, now winter updates are finished, I'm going to start recording the updates on a Sunday morning again for you. So today I think we're going to have a look at the central temperature for November. Just quickly have a look at that. It was quite a cold month. We haven't had many cold November, so it is worth having a bit of a discussion about that. We'll also have a look at what's going on in the stratosphere. Haven't spoken about that for a little while, and the Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillation, and then we'll have a look at the outlook for the next week or couple of weeks. So I'll get on with all of that in a second. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're going to be having to page website. Thanks so much for doing that. Christmas shop is still open, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that takes you to our Christmas shop. And then from there, click through the Amazon banners. That's the key to it all, really. Go through the Amazon banners. And because you've gone from gas service to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are buying. Still got plenty of time to get the Christmas presents out to you, of course. Very quick with postage at Amazon. But wouldn't leave it too much longer. So if you want to do any shopping at Amazon, between now and Christmas, click through the Amazon banners. And gas service will get a royalty fee on the things that you are buying. Thanks very much to everybody for their support for the website. So, as I said, we're going to start off with Central England temperature. And, as I said, it was quite a cold November, really. This is 2016 just here. And November's Central England temperature comes out at 5.6. The last time we had a November that was as cold or colder than that was back in 2010, which came out at 5.2. But before that, you actually have to go back a very long way to find a November that was under 6 degrees. It's actually 1996 at 5.9. And then before that, we go back to 1993 for our last really cold November. 1993 had a central temperature of 4.6. Before that, it's back to 1988, which comes out at 5.2. So you notice that back in the 90s and back into the 80s, it was more common to get colder Novembers. But since 1996, where we came out at 5.9, they really have been in very short supply, these colder than average Novembers. We've just the three of them, 1996, and then 2010 and 2016, since 1993. So quite unusual, actually, what's happened this November. It perhaps didn't feel as cold as it was because we didn't have a great deal of snow, particularly in the south. There was snow further north at times, but in the south, not much snow at all, hardly any snow really for southern parts of the country, or no snow actually for most places. And perhaps a bit disappointing given it was quite a cold month that we didn't have any snow down in the south. Perhaps a little bit unlucky with that. So we'll have a look at the temperature in the stratosphere next. This is at 30 HPA over the North Pole, and we can see that we're still generally quite a bit above average, to be honest, with these temperatures. The grey line here is the trend line, so we are in a cooling time of year. We reach the coldest point in terms of the stratospheric temperatures over the North Pole at the end of the year and the start of January. The black line is where the stratospheric temperatures have been over the North Pole through the season. So we start off in September, and this is where we are just here. And you see we are still significantly above that grey line. We haven't had a sudden stratospheric point. We haven't gone up shooting up to that sort of level on the chart, which is where we go when we have a sudden stratospheric warming, and those are ones that really impact the atmosphere in terms of producing extensive northern blocking. But what we have had is this consistently warmer, slightly warmer than average stratospheric temperature, and that's been putting the polar vortex under pressure, so it probably explains at least some of what's happened in November, why it was a relatively cold month. It's been putting the polar vortex under pressure, meaning that the polar vortex has been generally on the weaker side. And it is in contrast what has happened over the past few years, when this black line would have been doing something like that at around this time of the year. We would have had a dramatic drop in the temperature sometime at the end of November into December over the past 3 years with a cold stratospheric temperature. Remember, when the stratosphere is cold over North Pole, the stratosphere is the top layer of the atmosphere, or just about the top layer of the atmosphere. When it's cold, it's associated with a strong polar vortex, and a strong polar vortex is associated with westerlies. It keeps the cold air bottled up in the pole, and you tend to get strong westerlies coming through the Atlantic into Europe, which is a mild direction for us. Conversely, when the stratosphere is warm in the North Pole, it tends to have a weaker polar vortex, so you tend to get more high pressure over the North Pole, and that in turn can be associated with warmer conditions in the pole, but the cold air is pushed out into the mid latitudes. So a warm stratosphere over the pole tends to coincide with an increased chance of blocking and also colder conditions for the mid-latitudes for the UK, Europe, America, Asia. And of course, it's never guaranteed where that cold is going to set up, because every year is different, and some places find themselves on the warm side of the block, some places find themselves on the mild side of the block. Through most of November, America was very warm, and us in Europe was on the colder side of the block. That is shifting a little bit as we're going into December. So this is the temperature forecast for the stratosphere over the North Pole from the GFS model. This is from meteosil.fr. This blue area is where we've got those cold stratospheric temperatures, and the green and yellow areas where we're trying to infiltrate warmer temperatures into the stratosphere. Remember, even though the temperatures are a bit above average in terms of the stratosphere over the North Pole, it's still cold. It's still a cooling time of year. It's a long way up in the atmosphere, so it's bound to still be cold. But as the anomaly, it is a little bit above average, and has been for a few weeks now. So let's run through and see what happens with the latest run of the GFS. And well, we're trying to infiltrate more warm temperatures into the North Pole from Siberia again. So this is showing us that the cold temperatures, which is associated with the polar vortex, is really being put under pressure up to the 11th of December. Still, it looks very stretched there. It is still there, but it is weaker and it's more stretched than you would tend to expect it to be. As we move into the extended range of the GFS, what happens is that we actually lose that. We actually lose those yellow colours around the edges, so we lose those warm temperatures trying to infiltrate the North Pole. And we've actually started to cool things down a little bit in terms of those stratospheric temperatures. So it looks like as we get through to the middle part of December, we might be starting to cool down the temperature in the stratosphere, which perhaps isn't that good a sign, really, if you want cold weather going through into the middle part of winter. What you want to be happening here is signs of warming taking place. We started off quite warm. Maybe as we go through to the middle part of winter, we will cool things down. We'll have to wait and see on that. But certainly for the time being, I think we can expect the polar vortex to remain at least a bit weaker than you would expect it to be at this point in the year. Now, the Arctic Oscillation, which has been negative since the start of October, looks like it's going more positive over the next week or two. So this is the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. The black line here where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. So from around the 1st of October, it virtually changed with the date from September to October. We went negative with the Arctic Oscillation. We stayed negative really through October, and except for this little push up here through most of November as well. So that's associated with the higher pressure that we had over the pole, and of course that translates back to the colder conditions that we've had in November. Now, the red lines are showing us where the Arctic Oscillation is being forecast by GFS ensembles to go. And you notice the trend is very much go positive here. We're lifting the Arctic Oscillation up into positive territory through this first part of December. So I think we can expect to see, whilst the polar vortex will still be in a weakened state, I think we will see the westerlies starting to re-strengthen through this first half of December. And that's going to give us milder conditions, especially later in the coming week and sort of next weekend, and then on into the second week of December. There can be some very mild weather at times. This isn't like what we had last year, though, in December, where it was very much a locked-in mild pattern. I think the polar vortex is still in a weakened state because of the warming that we had in the stratosphere over the past over the past few weeks. So I think we will have further attempts at very least to turn things cooler in the second half of December. But certainly for the next week or two, the Arctic oscillation is going positive, and it looks like we're going to have milder conditions. Remember, when the Arctic oscillation is positive, again, that's associated with a strengthened polar vortex and cold conditions bottled up over the pole, milder in the mid-latitudes. When the Arctic oscillation is negative, it's telling you that you've got blocking over the pole, which pushes the cold air out into the mid-latitude. These indexes are not driving the weather, they are just indexes that are reflecting what the weather is doing. North Atlantic oscillation is very similar, so we're a bit negative with the North Atlantic oscillation now. The forecast is to lift things generally towards the neutral, a little bit positive, although there are quite a few members of the GFS ensembles that are still negative with the North Atlantic oscillation going to the middle part of December. So we might have an interesting contrast between the Atlantic and the Arctic, with the Arctic going positive, with the Arctic oscillation, the Atlantic staying negative. We could get that, but I would suspect actually if we go towards mid-December, we'll probably see both of these indexes going positive, which will tell us that the westerlies are strengthening. Thought we'd just have a look at the GFS ensembles as well today. So this is the new version of West Central.d, and this shows us the individual members of the GFS ensembles. So it's same as the ensemble chart that we normally use. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. There's the significantly warmer than average temperatures that are coming up through the first couple of weeks of December. Dates on the bottom, so this is around the middle part of December just here, by which time you see we are cooling down from this very mild weather that we've got coming up at the end of the coming week. But we're only cooling down towards the 30-year temperature average. However, there's a lot of scatter in there, so even into the extended range of the GFS model, some of these ensemble members are still very mild indeed. For example, that one up there. But some of them are turning really quite cold in the extended range of the GFS ensemble. So actually you see these numbered. So this one that goes really cold around the 17th of December, that is number 19. That's ensemble member number 19. This one is ensemble member number 17. And this very mild one at the top is ensemble member number 7. And you actually see how all these ensembles work out. It's really good fun actually, this, if you've got time to spare, to go through the individual members of the ensemble. So we know number 19 went cold. Let's have a look at ensemble member number 19 and see how it did that. So this is it, and we start off here at day 10, which is Wednesday the 14th of December. So you've got to squint to try and see the date. So Wednesday the 14th of December, it's showing high pressure on ensemble member number 19 over the country. Let's see how it gets to that cold weather, and we'll run through to 258 hours, where the high pressure beginning to shift northwards up towards Scandinavia. And as we go through towards 276 hours, which is mid-December, Thursday 15th of December, bringing in the winds from the east, go a bit further out, and we're up to the 16th of December, when the ensemble chart, the graph, showed we're doing a plunge with the temperature with this ensemble member, and we're bringing in bitterly cold air from the east, and that continues then as we go through to the 17th, stays cold, and probably bringing snow in from the east with that. So it turns cold by producing high pressure around the UK and Germany, and then taking it up towards Scandinavia. Let's have a look at ensemble member number 7, if I can find it. There it is on the chart, and that was a much milder one, and it does that by having high pressure to the east and low pressure to the west, and bringing up the air from the south. It is very interesting to go through these ensemble members and see all the different scenarios that are playing out, all the different solutions that the model is playing with. Ensemble member number 1 is close to turning things cold there on the 17th of December. What about number 4? I'm just taking these at random. So number 4 is very westerly Atlantic driven up to Saturday the 17th of December. We'll have a look at ensemble member number 16. That one's anticyclonic and probably quite frosty. So you see there's a lot of different solutions at work here as we go through to the second half of December. Number 13 shows low pressure out to west, high pressure to the east. That's probably quite a mild one. Number 10, ensemble member number 10, that one looks fairly chilly with a showery northwesterly flow. And then on we go through, let's try number 6, and that shows high pressure overcoat. That would be frosty, foggy, not bringing down Arctic air, but probably frost and fog with that. And if we just have a look at number 15, that also is fairly Atlantic driven. So it was ensemble member number 17 that did turn things a bit colder at this point as well, and that one shows high pressure to the north of the country, but again not desperately cold, not bring down Arctic air, just cool within that area of high pressure. Anyway, shows the different solutions that are at work within the extended range of the GFS ensembles, and I think overall it still looks, running with the idea that we are probably going to have a better chance, might not pull it off, but a better chance of turning things a bit colder in the second half of December. Finally, just have a look at next week's 10 days. And this is the operational run of the GFS, which on this graph, by the way, on the ensemble there, the operational run, I believe, is going to be, let's have a look, see if we can work it out. So that one is going to be the grey line, which is that one up there, one of the warmest members of the ensemble within the ensemble chart this morning. So if you have a look at the GFS, it's going to be mild, and we can see that we're bringing up southwesterly winds there on the operational run on Thursday. That looks very mild. Follow the ice bars back, you're drawing the air up from the Azores, so it's going to be turning much milder this week. And we go through into the end of the week and into weekend, it's still looking very mild, quite Atlantic driven as well. And then beyond that into next week stays mild and unsettled, low pressure starting to drive through off the Atlantic. So I think we're looking at some rain coming up later this week into weekend. Not particularly stormy, but get through into next week, and actually the winds might start to pick up as well. So it might also turn windy as well as being quite unsettled. And these conditions look like they're continuing into the extended range of the GFS ensembles, although we do start to go through to the extended part. This is taking us to sunny the 18th of December, starting to pull down some colder air from the northwest there. So again, still going with that idea that we might turn things colder into the second half of December. This takes us up to 384 hours away, very latest chart, which is Tuesday 20th of December. And again, you see we've got high pressure building to the north and west, low pressure to the east. The winds are coming in from the north, so that does look quite cold as we're getting up towards the Christmas period. There'll be the 16th Christmas update tonight, by the way. East area finally, so mild southwesterly winds through the second half of this week into the weekend as well, all looking very mild and unsettled. Into the start of next week, low pressure still coming through. We're trying to build a bit of high pressure up to the north, but that looks quite weak up to that point anyway. Really up to daytime, we're still driving the air in off the Atlantic. It still looks generally quite mild. So we've still got the solution playing out that the first half, after the cold days we're in right now, we're cold opening, the first half of December generally mild. The second half of December we're looking to see if we can turn it colder. We may not be able to turn it cold. It may be the atmosphere is flipping into extended mild setup. You never quite tell when you're going from cold to mild whether it's going to be just a brief period of mild conditions or whether the atmosphere is going into several weeks of mild weather. So it might be that we don't pull off this cold weather in the second half of December, but I think there's still enough evidence there, certainly within the GFS ensembles, to show us that there's various solutions on offer, and we can't rule out the chance that the second half of December, running up towards Christmas, we might start to turn things colder again. So it's just going to be a case of watch this space. Right, crammed a lot into today's video, something a bit different. I hope you enjoyed it on this Sunday morning or afternoon, whenever you're watching the video. Later on today, just got a sneak peek for spring, because that's where we're going with the long range next. So have a quick sneak peek at that, and you'll find the link to that on the homepage later today. And then tonight we'll also do the latest Christmas update. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.